I'm Anthony Wilson, the Public Information Officer for the City of San Angelo. And earlier today we had a City Council meeting, and as we are wont to do, following a City Council meeting, we like to come on live to our Facebook page and just brief you guys on what happened during the City Council meeting. And by far the most interesting and impactful thing that happened today was a slight change to our contract in regards to our curbside recycling program. So joining us here today in order to talk about that is Teresa James, our City Attorney, Shane Kelton, our Operations Director. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
So Shane, tell us briefly, what are the changes to the curbside recycling program?
The only changes are really what we can and can't put in there, and the only thing that we can no longer put in there that we were normally putting in there was the mixed papers, newspapers, magazines, mailers, inserts, things like that that we normally receive in the mail, mixed papers, and that's the biggest change that we're going to see. And of course, another minor change that's in there that really is not going to affect most people is in our plastics recycling. We're going to limit to the number 1s and number 2 plastics, which we're to continue to recycle there, but eliminate the 3 through 7 plastics, which most people weren't recycling those in the first place. When we start looking at prescription pill bottles, and we start looking at bread sack wrappers, things like that, or the 3 through 7s that most people weren't recycling in the first place. And so, you know, the plastic films, the grocery bags, things like that we get from the grocery stores, those were the things, the 3 through 7s that we weren't really recycling anyway. And so again, those are really the only changes that we're looking at, and so it's basically the same program, just minus the mixed papers and the 3 through 7s.
So no paper into the green recycling bin at all, and only the number 1 and 2 plastics. And those are the most common plastics: are water bottles, or soda bottles, shampoo bottles, things of that nature. Now, when should people begin adhering to these changes?
We would like for people to, to start making these changes as soon as possible, as soon as reasonable. Again, moving forward, we're really not going to start, in earnest with everything until after the holiday season. But again, moving forward, we would like people to start reducing those as they can now, and start working to help limit that stream.
So a few people on our social media have asked, do I need to go into my recycling bin and resort and take stuff out? And I said, no, there's no need for that. Just, now that you know about the changes, we would appreciate it if you'd start instituting those changes now.
Correct. We're still going to take everything and continue to take everything through the holidays. We're not, and again, this is going to be kind of a gradual process over time. We know it's going to take people a little while to adjust and to remember, muscle memory, that type of thing. So it's and the brain being our biggest one that we have to try to kind of focus and redirect our thinking and how we do things. But again, the sooner we can start limiting that stream, the better. But again, we understand.
So Teresa, tell us why and how this change came about.
Well, the conversation started happening back in the summer whenever it became apparent that changes that China made regarding the kinds of recyclables they were going to start taking was really affecting Republic and all of the waste handlers actually in the recycling processes they were going through. So they came to us at a city council meeting and requested, discussions to start happening. Mayor Gunter at that time decided to have some public forums. So we had a number of public forums where we received input on the kinds of things we would like, or the citizens would like to see happen regarding the contract. And then we started having discussions in executive session and formulating, strategy from our side in ways that we were going to have conversations with Republic, and then sent Shane out to Republic to have those discussions. This past week, they provided us with a proposal for an amendment to the contract that does change the list of recyclables that they will be collecting, which is completely allowable under the contract language as it's stated today. And after discussion today, Council decided to agree to that amendment.
You mentioned the change with China. I think it's important for people to know this has been sort of a tectonic shift in the global marketplace when it comes to recyclables. So paper that 2 years ago was selling for $95 a ton is now selling for $5 a ton, and that's why Republic came to us asking if there was some change because of the financial strain that it was causing on their company and on their partner Butts Recycling.
That's correct. And what we're also hearing from the recycling industry, and this isn't just San Angelo, I'm part of a group that's, nationwide as well as Canada, and everybody's having the same issue. And the issue really is, even if they were collecting, even if Republic continued to collect the paper, there is no place to sell it. It's going to be bound and stored somewhere until potentially a market comes back. So we would be asking people to recycle something that we know legitimately is never going through a recycling process.
It might end up in the landfill anyway, which makes it sort of a meaningless exercise.
Absolutely.
So Teresa, some folks are asking via our social media why we just don't force Republic Services to adhere to the contract as is. Why do you think today's action is a better tack to take?
Well, I think first of all, the way that I view contracts, particularly contracts as big as this one and as long lasting as this one, is it's a relationship. And the contract has built into it provisions to allow amendments as is necessary to maintain that relationship. So the discussions we've been having with Republic fits very neatly into the contract. They haven't been in breach. I've seen that on public media, social media, that they're breaching the contract. Well, no, they've continued to pick up our recyclables. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, the paper and not having anything to do with it, and it was costing them more than what they could sell it for. So keeping the contract in place is always a better option. It's what it's intended to be. They're flexible documents. There's amendment language, which is what Republic actually came back to us with, is an amendment. And so it's just a better way to maintain that relationship.
Shane, do you feel like this change is in keeping with what we heard, as Teresa mentioned, during those town hall forums and via our online survey that we also conducted?
I do. I think that City Council, directed us to kind of, see what we could do for a happy medium. I think the one thing that we did here at the town halls was we do not want we don't want the price of this service to go up any at all. And of course, there's no change to the cost of the service. Another thing is we want to keep recycling. We heard that over and over again. We want to keep recycling. And those things were brought up within the town hall meetings that, if mixed paper is not worth anything on the market, we'd rather see, although we want to recycle mixed paper, we'd rather see that go out of the stream and us to continue to recycle everything that is recyclable, that still has some value. And so I think that this, from what we heard and everything that we received, whether it was online in the survey or at the town hall meetings, I think what we accomplished here falls in line with what we heard.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was kind of surprised at how forcefully St. Angeloans wanted to continue recycling in some form or fashion, and that was sort of my takeaway from those town hall forums, was that we understand that there may be changes that are necessary, but please make those changes so that we can continue to recycle in some way.
Yes, that's exactly what I took away from those town hall meetings.
Now, you mentioned about the rates, and I think that's important to stress too. There are no changes to the rates that customers will be paying, and the service itself, with the exception of some things that had previously gone in the green bin, now going in the tan bin, remains the same. That is, you'll continue to get garbage collection once a week. Your service for curbside recycling and for bulk pickup will continue to alternate as is. So in regards to the volume of waste that's being picked up and removed from your property, it's still the same service. So Teresa, I know that you and your family are very avid recyclers. Tell us why you think recycling is an important and a worthy endeavor.
Well, I'll tell you two things. One, we do it in our family very heavily, and part of that is because of what our children are taught in school. I have a 7-year-old who is an avid recycler. She encourages us all very strongly. We have a worm farm at our house. So we take those steps, to nurture her interest. But I think generally what we hear in the forums and what I believe personally is that it's just better for our earth. I was a teacher before I became an attorney, and one of the things we used to teach our children is this concept of conservation of matter. So there's only so much aluminum in the world. There's only so much of these things that we're throwing in landfills. And the more we can reuse them and recycle them, or even not use them at all, maintains them for future generations.
And Shane, it does make some differences in regards to the lifespan of our landfill. That is, that it extends that lifespan. And landfills are very expensive facilities, either to open or to expand.
They are. Now, in our situation, of course, in a small market like ours, we're not talking, years and years of extended lifespan, but we're talking months of lifespan over our existing, permit that we have right now. And so, but even at that, when you start looking at $2 to $4 to $5 million to permit a new landfill, and you're $1 million to $2 million to build a new cell within a landfill, and all the environmental regulations that come along with those. It is. I mean, if we can save ourselves 6 months to a year of airspace within our existing permit, then by all means, we definitely need to do that, because that airspace is very valuable.
Do you feel a sense of pride that San Angelo is the only West Texas city that offers curbside recycling?
I do. I mean, I think that's amazing that we as a city out here in the middle of West Texas, all, you know, we're kind of all by ourselves out here, you know, setting, hopefully trying to set a trend, and to actually, you know, we want to be the leaders, and hopefully we are. Hopefully we're setting the stage for other West Texas communities to jump on board and to become a part of that. And the more that we do, and the more that other West Texas communities do, the more it brings more business out here, and hopefully we can get to the point where we are the hub and we are the center of that for West Texas.
You know, our community has really embraced water conservation, and the amount of water that we use now is dramatically less than it was some years ago. Do you foresee us becoming a different culture when it comes to recycling, and maybe being a little bit more environmentally conscious?
I think that what we realized when we were doing surveys is that already is happening, that when we make something available and teach people how to do it, they're going to take advantage of those, you know, circumstances. Even if they're not avid recyclers like my 7-year-old, people I think generally understand it's a good thing to do. And if we make it easy and make it understandable for them to do it, I think their behaviors will change.
So we've been talking about the change in our recycling program. And if you have questions about that, you're welcome to post that on this video. We'll do our best to respond to each of those questions and concerns. And also, another good resource is our website, cosatx.us/recycling. So if you have any questions about what you can and cannot recycle, we would commend that to you.